Yes, we are live. We are back. Welcome to Wrestle News 365. Welcome to WrestleMania Sunday. And we've got quite a bit to get into, don't we? We've got quite a bit to get into. An interesting night, an interesting show, some interesting choices, shall we say, in that. Let me know what you think. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. There's going to be a lot of opinion and a lot of discussion involved in that. WrestleMania has just gone off the air from the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. And overall thoughts? Well, it was certainly a show that I think gave people what they wanted in terms of the outcome for the majority of the matches. Particularly the main event. They got the outcome that we were looking for. I think that after the first three matches, the night kind of fell apart a bit and got quite flat. The outcome of the main event is the right outcome. The match itself was pretty damn flat, to say the least. The crowd was better on night two, definitely. Like the crowd were into it more than they were of night one. Match of the weekend goes to the main event of night one. You would say that CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns had the best match. You could make a very good argument about Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky possibly having match of the weekend too. Odd. I think there's certainly oddness to the second night. So we're going to get into it match by match. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the main event too. We've already got 83 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's get to a quick 50 likes. Also, be sure to subscribe. As you can see right there, we are currently at 21,249 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. There's so many new members of the WN365 roster as well. A lot of people saying in the chat. Lil Yo's there says night one main event was better, but the correct outcome. Will says last three matches were awful. TV Thrill says it wasn't bad, but just bring back Vince. Oof. Matt says get the likes in. Steven says best first match was the best one. Certainly, I think of night two. There's no doubt about that. So yes, and be sure to get your comments in as well. We'll continue to do that. Already, we've got 138 people watching. Let's see if we can get quickly to 50 likes, and also be sure to subscribe. Let's get into the matches. Let's get into the matches individually, and then obviously we'll end talking about the main event because so many people are going to want to talk about the main event. Oh, well, how do you guys want to do it? Let me know actually in the chat. Do you want to go just straight to the main event first and then work our way backwards, or do you want to do it in chronological order? What do we think is the best way to do this? Let me know in the chat what you would like to do. If you want to just talk about the main event first, we can talk about the main event first, or we can go through chronologically. Because I think a lot of people are going to be coming in, hit straight in, and just going, let's talk about the main event. Talk to me about the main event. Talk to me about the main event. Let's go into the ending. Let's go into the main event first, and then we can kind of work our way back, because that's what everyone's going to want to talk about. Right. We have a new WWE champion. We have a new WWE champion who's called John Cena. John Cena has won the championship for the 17th time. That is the right outcome. I think most people wanted to see John Cena win the WWE Championship for the 17th time. I think people wanted to see Cena have this retirement tour. And now, obviously, most likely he's probably going to defend the championship against Randy Orton at Backlash. So if the outcome's right, the match itself, I'm going to be honest, has left me with some concerns moving forward about just the quality of match that John Cena at this point in his career is able to give, because the quality of that match wasn't really there. Now, obviously, there's an argument to be made like if you're over, if you're popular, it doesn't matter, and that's probably fair. It doesn't matter if you're as popular and over as John Cena is, and wrestling's about moments. It's not necessarily always about quality of matches. And the fans certainly got what they wanted. The fans got what they wanted tonight in seeing John Cena win the WWE Championship for the 17th time. They can say, I was there when history was made, when John Cena won the 17th WWE Championship. I think this, once again, though, does go to show that all of the stuff when the people online and people within WWE and TKO say, there's always a master plan at play here. And The Rock likes to say this. There's always a master plan. We're always thinking 2 steps ahead, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. It goes to show that people were right on their speculation when it came to The Rock and his involvement in all of this. He is basically, WWE is at the beck and call of The Rock. If The Rock decides he wants to show up, then they will factor him in, even if it's last minute. Think of what's happened over the last 12 months, right? 12 months ago, The Rock pinned Cody Rhodes on WrestleMania Night 1. That was to set up a WrestleMania main event between Cody Rhodes and The Rock. The Raw after WrestleMania last year, they did an opening segment that was, I think, over 30 minutes to open Raw between The Rock and John Cena and Cody Rhodes. They held their championships. I'll hold your people's championship. You can hold my WWE championship. He even said, our story is not finished here. I've got to go away for a while, film a movie, but we'll be back. And basically saying we're going to have a match in WrestleMania next year. That's what's going to happen. Cody versus The Rock. Time goes on through the next weeks and months. It becomes quite plainly obvious The Rock can't make WrestleMania next year. So instead, it's going to be Cena versus Cody. Suddenly, The Rock shows up at Bad Blood, at the close of Bad Blood, does that, and everyone then starts going, the dirt sheets. What do the dirt sheets know? See, The Rock, he's got the plan. You dirt sheets, you don't know what you're talking about. The dirt sheets, they're wrong. See, The Rock was going to come back, and you get all of these reports that say, well, there wasn't much of a plan there. The Rock just showed up because he was in Atlanta. He was in Atlanta anyway, so they said, well, it's better to have The Rock on a show than not on a show, and we'll see what happens when it comes to his availability come April. So we can always just sort of say, well, it was part of the plan. That was, longer term plan. That was part of the plan. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And everyone was saying that at the time. It's not part of a wider plan, He's not going to be involved in WrestleMania. We get closer to WrestleMania. Royal Rumble comes and goes. Nothing. No Rock. Nothing happening. And everyone goes, see, he wasn't going to be part of WrestleMania. Then, on a random Thursday, and that's what it was, a random Thursday before Elimination Chamber, they went, oh, by the way, The Rock's on SmackDown tomorrow. And everyone went, that seems a bit out of the blue. And once again, it was, see all of you dirt sheets, the dirt sheets, see, you were wrong. You just don't know. You were just making stuff up. And everyone then said at the time, actually, a lot of the creative team found out on like Wednesday, Thursday, The Rock just suddenly decided that he could show up for SmackDown on Friday. And he did. And he did a rambling promo. Well, about Cody, I want your soul, and I want this, and I want that. And everyone went, okay, that's weird. And then when they did the heel turn at Elimination Chamber, went, right, got it. Makes sense. It was all part of this. They've decided to do Rock, Travis, and Cena. Cena heel turn. That was an iconic moment. Iconic moment. This is going to be great. Iconic moment. No problem. And then The Rock's not mentioned on TV. Barely any reference. Barely even any talk about him. No explanation from Cena as to why he sided with The Rock. Sold your soul to The Rock. And everyone's going, that's really confusing. That doesn't make any sense. I don't really get that. And like we saw tonight, WrestleMania comes and goes. No Rock. So frankly, what we've got here, and this isn't like me to say like I don't like it. I wanted John Cena to win number 17. John Cena being WWE champion, breaking the record, and now having these big title matches is fine. Like Cena versus Randy Orton will sell tickets. People will watch that at Backlash next month in Randy Orton's hometown, St. Louis. I think probably we get Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank, because Money in the Bank 2011, that's when we had Cena, CM Punk, WWE Championship, iconic match. Maybe we'll have Cena versus Roman at one of the nights of SummerSlam. That's a big match too. And at some points, probably maybe Cena's retirement match. He has his retirement match against Cody. Cody wins the championship back, passes the torch, something like that. But this narrative, this idea that The Rock, WWE, and TKO are playing some kind of 4D chess when it comes to all of this Rock stuff is bullshit. That factually is not true. What we have is The Rock effectively telling people when he's going to show up, and then WWE has to book around that. I can show up for Elimination Chamber. Okay, what does that mean? I can be there. Like, we're still doing Cena versus Cody, Cena heel turn. The Rock can be involved in that. Okay, I'm in Atlanta on the same day as Bad Blood. All right, The Rock can close the show. How? He'll just come out. He's The Rock, and then if his availability opens up, we can do something. We can figure it out. That's what we can do. That's what it was. So that idea of the 4D chess, 4-term, long-term storytelling with The Rock is, like I said, is bullshit. As far as this match, the Travis Scott stuff, to be honest, felt so odd and bizarre. I mean, in the middle of the match, he came out, walked to the ring for a bit, pulled the referee out the ring, which isn't a disqualification, by the way. I don't know how. And then Cody hits the crossroads on him, and then he's out the ring. And then in terms of the finish, he, hits him with the championship. AA 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, the story they're trying to tell. Excuse me. That's not what happened. The story they're trying to tell is when, with the story they're trying to tell is Cena, and Cena said this on was it SmackDown on Friday, where he said at some point you're gonna have to choose. You're gonna have to choose. You're gonna have to choose for them, the crowd, do the right thing by them, or do the right thing by yourself. And that's the moment they had there, where Cody could have hit Cena with the championship. He decided not to. That allowed Cena to kicked him in the balls, and then Cena gets the victory. So that's the story they're trying to tell. Because Cena was like, once you said that go F yourself to The Rock, that's when I knew I could win this one. But it's a weird situation, I think, to be in, actually, as a fan, because I don't have a problem at all with the outcome. I don't think the crowd had a problem at all with the outcome. That's what they wanted to see. But just the execution of it just felt off. Like, it felt off. And I felt like the crowd was just kind of waiting to get to, like, and then, because you notice once the ref bump happened, the crowd kind of came alive a little bit. Then they were like, all right, because maybe The Rock's going to come out and we're going to get this big, crazy ending. Because also, bear in mind, last night at WrestleMania, we got that kind of cinematic ending with Paul Heyman turning on Punk and then turning on Roman Reigns, and then the finish, and everyone's going, wow, okay, what's coming next? Oh. And tonight it was just like, oh, it's done. Okay, and then you looked at the clock and went, it's still 20 minutes left. So is someone going to come out? No one's going to come out. Travis Scott, he's just there. He took a crossroads, I guess, for just an appearance, but it wasn't really that much of a receipt. Bear in mind, he gave Cody Rhodes a black eye and burst his eardrum. You thought, oh, is he going to get really something bad happen to him? Not really. So in terms of a main event, I mean, look, it's historic. Cena breaks the record, so it's always will be remembered for that. And you could make an argument that the match itself is kind of secondary to the outcome, because from a historical point of view and a business point of view, they're going to sell a ton of tickets with Cena being the champion, and people are going to be talking about it. But in terms of the execution of it, let's be honest, it was flat. And we know Cena has limitations at this point in his career, but I now do kind of think like, all right, so we're going to see Cena versus Orton. What's that match going to look like? And then we probably have Cena versus Punk. What's that match going to look like? And The Rock's not involved. Like, it felt like they were building to something. This is what I mean. This is why this Rock stuff's just bizarre, because it's like they're building to something that they know they probably can't actually deliver, and they're just going to sort of wing it as they go along. I don't know. And then, you had the drama of last night, plus you had the drama of last year's WrestleMania finish with all of the different entrances and the cameos and people coming out. And not to say, oh, they should have just done what they did last year, have people running out. But I think just the fans expected Cena to win, but I think they expected a different way to get there, or a more elaborate way to get there than just Travis Scott comes out, takes a lifetime to walk to the ring, gets, taken out by Cody Rhodes, Cena kicks him in the nuts, and that's it. It just feels a bit like, okay, right. And is Travis Scott going to pin more? Like, if it was The Rock was there, then you go, right, the closing shot of it is the new faction. But I just don't know. I just maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. It just didn't. I just don't think it worked. I just don't think it worked at all. And in terms of Cena's limitations, I mean, I think it would be one thing if Cena was still a babyface, he could still just basically trade around the crowd going nuts, 5 moves of doom. But because Cena hasn't worked as a heel in such a long time, I'm almost like I don't know if he actually knows how to work as a heel, you know. And because the crowd were cheering him and they were booing Cody, it was just again I just don't think it worked. I think the best way to put it out there with this is, and you let me know what you think in the chat. I just don't think it worked. People saw what they wanted, but I just don't think it worked out. We've got closing in on 300 people watching at the moment, which is fantastic, guys. We're currently at 68 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, we're 21,257 subscribers. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Let's get what you guys are saying here. Let's read out what you guys are saying. Get your super chats in as well. It's a great way to support the channel. Super chat should pop up in terms of a GIF in the top right-hand corner of the screen grab as well. What are people saying here? Matt says even Travis's entry was ass. TV3, one of our members, says of all people, Travis Scott. Slim says that this one didn't engage the audience at all. What else are people saying here? Liam Jones says if it was a case of The Rock coming out to his theme tune with a remix of Travis Scott, it would be done simply because The Rock was in the city. Makes no sense. That would take months of planning. It just felt odd. Lil Yo-Yo, big up Lil Yo-Yo, says there was something missing. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It just didn't work, did it? I mean, that's the thing. And it's a weird way to feel, because they got to the right outcome where they needed to get to, and I think where people were happy that they got to, but the way that they got there just didn't feel right, and that feels a bit odd. Because even like, you know, when Cena did the 5 moves of doom, but he did them slowly. Yeah, I just don't know if it worked. Liam says, Owen, you insist on saying Cena's limitations. I did not see him being able to do what he did. I only insist on saying Cena's limitations. I did not see him being able to do what he was 10 years ago. Well, you mean you're saying he's the same as he was 10 years ago? John Cena's not what he was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, in 2015, in ring, that was some of the best work of John Cena's career. He was doing United States Open challenges every single week. He was busting out springboard stunners. What are we talking about here? He can't do that a decade on. Absolutely not. And to be fair, I wasn't expecting that. But we've seen Cena for the last 3 or 4 years, like that. He can't wrestle the way that he used to, but you don't need to. And again, it's about execution. I just don't think that they executed this right at all. And I also, this is the other thing when it comes to Cody and Cena, I don't necessarily blame them that it's difficult to execute, because once again, a big part of the story, a major part of the story, was The Rock's involvement, and now The Rock's disappeared. He's not coming back. So once again, you have that discussion of, so they're kind of pigeonholed story-wise. They've had to pivot. Let's be honest, that's what they've had to do. They've had to pivot. You know, the whole thing's felt like a pivot, hasn't it? How many times have they pivoted in it? They've pivoted in the sense that initially, Cody Cena, is it even going to be a Cena heel turn? Is it going to be babyface versus babyface? They don't know. Then they pivot to Cena heel turn, okay, because The Rock's involved. Then they've pivoted again with, The Rock's not involved now. He's not even going to be at WrestleMania, so we're pivoting to something a little bit different. And people did say this about the build-up to this. Remember, we were talking about how odd was the build-up to this WrestleMania match of Cody's always getting over on Cena on the mic by design. The 2 times it got physical, Cody laid him out of a crossroads. And then in this main event, like, Cena actually kind of largely sort of dominated, really, didn't he? And then Travis Scott came out, and when Travis Scott was doing the sort of longest walk, Cena had a look on his face like he didn't even know if he was actually going to be there. That was part of the plan, which again is an odd school of thought, isn't it? Like, when you think about it, like, it sort of, I don't know. Like, when you think about it, just again from a psychological point of view, none of it makes actually any sense. From the more, if you actually really kind of try and deep it, it doesn't make any sense at all. And someone mentioned it there in the chat. Buffbin Stuff says that sort of if The Rock wasn't involved in this and they actually had a long-term plan and stuck with that plan in that direction, it would make a lot more sense. But this sort of in and out stuff that The Rock's insisting on, it just muddies the water, doesn't it? It's really just muddying the water to the point that we're like, it doesn't make any sense. And then when things don't make sense, you get just, I don't know, you just get confusing finishes, like confusing finishes and stuff that like the fans are like really, I don't know, just confused by. And that's where it is. It's just, yeah, it's just freeform. And look, the great thing about wrestling is that you can pivot, you know, as much as, and that's the ironic thing is, that's the irony, right? This week in the build up to this, Triple H, when he was on one of those podcasts and he was saying about, oh, you know, you can't listen to social media. You can't listen to social media. You can't listen to the fans. You tell them where to go. They don't tell you where to go, which again was an ironic statement considering that last year they pivoted big time. And it feels like with a lot of this stuff, like the Cody stuff, the Cena stuff, and the Rock stuff, all they've done over the last 12 months is pivot based on availability. That's all they've done. And what clearly feels like the case now is The Rock is just randomly showing up. The Rock is randomly showing up when he wants to show up. And basically WWE have to, then when he decides he's going to show up, they have to decide how can we try and make this make sense? How can we weave this in to the story? And when he can't show up, we've got to pivot and go back to, okay, how does this make sense? How can this make sense? How can we put this together into the story? And the problem is there is only so many times you can do that without it eventually not making sense. That's the problem.
He didn't just say that.
Super chats have the noises as well when I do it this way too. Bobby G with the super chat says, The Rock would never do this to Vince. Vince wouldn't have it. Well, I think Vince probably would. But I think probably Vince would maybe be looking for a longer term commitment. Maybe that's part of it. But you can't just, again, randomly show up in and out of storyline and then be like, oh, we're just going to have to try and make it make sense. The best example is, look last night. Look, if we compare the two main events of WrestleMania, if we compare the two main events of this year's WrestleMania, the main event of last night's WrestleMania was a story that, granted, you could argue in the build-up to it, some of it didn't make a ton of sense, but in terms of the finish that we got, that was largely story-driven. They hadn't been laying the foundations for that one, about the favors. Obviously, there was a lot of equity in Heyman with Punk, a lot of equity in Heyman with Reigns. Seth Rollins talked about owing the favor, and they planted the seeds. They did that. So when they did the turns, when they did the betrayals, even though it was shocking, you went, that makes sense. And actually, they'll explain that, and you go, okay, right, well, I kind of see where we're going with this one. This one just felt like, we're going to have to try and make it make sense along the way. Like, we're just going to, and there doesn't feel like there's a ton of story in it, you know? And the most annoying thing is, it didn't need to be that much story in it. If the story just was, Cena wants to win 17, and he's going to do anything he can to do it. And even if it was, even if Cena was still a heel, and just The Rock and Travis Scott had no involvement, then that would have been much easier to tell. But it's like the insistence of involving The Rock and the Travis Scott bit into it, it just feels awkward. It just feels really awkward and doesn't make really all that much sense, does it? That's the problem of it all. We've still got closing in on 400 people watching, which is amazing, guys. WrestleMania post show. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe too. Loads of new subscribers coming in. We're currently at 21,267. If you are new to the channel, we do daily news videos about all things pro wrestling, whether it be WWE, AEW, TNA, you name any company, New Japan. We do it all here. We also do daily countdown videos about all kind of speculatory things. whether they be things that could happen, and we did, surprises that we could see at WrestleMania, what have you. And we'll be doing loads of them this week. Also, you can join the WN365 roster. I think we've got something like 60 new members or something tonight, which is insane. You get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members-only content as well. In addition to that, remember, we're going to be live tomorrow too for the Raw after WrestleMania. And I don't know what you guys think now, because that Raw tomorrow night, if I'm Triple H, I'm looking at it going, we've got to figure something out. Once again, they've got to pivot. Once again, they've got to go, how do we make this Travis Scott, Cena, Rock stuff make any sense? What do we do here? That finish, how do we, what do we do? How Cena is going to be there. He's advertised to be there. So Cena will be there and he'll probably, but do they have Randy Orton come out? Because look, Backlash is in 3 weeks' time. So they've got to set up if Cena's not going to be there every single week as well. But imagine, and this is the other part of it, have they ever explained what the fuck Travis Scott has got to do with any of this? Have they explained that? They still haven't, let's be honest, have they? Why did he show up at Elimination Chamber? We never saw him after that. We didn't. we never saw him after Elimination Chamber. He was not even spoken about after Elimination Chamber, like The Rock. And he showed up tonight. And is he going to be there tomorrow? Are they going to explain? Is Cena going to be like, yeah, I had no idea he was coming out as well? Why? Why? I know there's the marketing stuff. And by the way, when it comes to all of the marketing and all that kind of stuff, WWE, you're making a lot of money, I know. But Jesus, let's sort of taper down on the ad integrations. It is wild. Travis Scott is making his entrance in the main event of WrestleMania, and they're talking about his sneaker line that's coming out. Wow, he's got this, and wow, he's got. Going, guys, we're in the middle of a match. We're in the middle of a match. What? And it took ages to walk down to the ring. If you're, I just, look at again the choices that were made in that match. I just can't. I can't even wrap my head around. What? What? It just is. I don't know. I don't get it. There's so much of that I just don't understand. I don't understand, and not in a good way. Like with yesterday's main event, where it's I don't necessarily understand why Heyman's gone with Rollins. I mean, Rollins did make the case to him a few weeks ago, so maybe you could go with that. But they will explain that, and it'll be easy enough to explain. And I'm interested to see where they go with it, even though I wasn't the biggest fan, the concept of it, initially going into it. But okay, they can go with that. With this, it just feels like, you would say, who's booking this? Is Triple H booking this? Is The Rock booking this? And when The Rock shows up, is he telling you, Triple H, what you can and can't do? Because that's not Chief Content Officer. Then The Rock's the Chief Content Officer. If he's showing up and he's telling you what to book, or if Ari Emanuel from TKO has basically said, yeah, when The Rock shows up, he can do whatever he wants, and it doesn't. He's got full creative control. Then he's Dwayne Hogan, isn't he? He's Dwayne Hogan at this point. I've got creative control. And they'd rather have The Rock there than not have him there so he can come and does what he wants. But if you keep doing that, you get what you got tonight, which is a finish that doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you're going to then just crow about, well, Record Gate, Record Gate, we've sold a lot of tickets, then I'll come back to bite you. It will. That will come back to bite you eventually. So, yeah, a main event that, let's be honest, doesn't make a lot of sense. They will try their best to explain it, I think. How well they will be able to explain it, I don't know. But Cena wins. And look, and I wanted Cena to win. I wanted Cena to get 17. John Cena's my childhood, and it was the right outcome. But, yeah, this very, 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 very odd stuff. As far as the other parts of the show, because we do have to talk about other parts of the show. If you haven't already, click the like button. We've still got over 340 people watching. We're currently at 122 likes. Let's see if we can get to 150 likes. And also, we're now less than 30 subscribers away from 21,300. The show, this must be pointed out as well. The first 3 matches on this show tonight were brilliant. This Women's World Championship match between Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair opened the show. Io Sky still the Women's World Champion. I think when you're having conversations about the best opening matches in WrestleMania history, this will have to be in that conversation. Now, I'm not saying it's the best. Someone made the point, absolutely. Brett versus Owen, WrestleMania 10, in that conversation. You could say Triple H, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30, in that conversation. Like, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But this is in that, I think, as well. This is absolutely in that. This was a brilliant match. Crowd was into it. It went, how many minutes did it go? It went close to 15 minutes. And it's as good of a WrestleMania opener as you're going to see. Match of the night. Absolutely match of the night. These three women, no doubt, stole the show. Absolutely stole the show. Some of the sequences that they did in the match was absolutely fantastic. Io Sky, because this is the other thing as well. Forget the gender part of it, yeah? Forget, this is the three of the best women's wrestlers they've got on the roster. These are three of the best wrestlers they've got on the roster. And they absolutely stole it tonight. Io Sky, with her over the moonsault, gets the victory, and she deserves it as well, because the build they have done to it, they have treated her like an afterthought. But what I do like with this one is I think there's loads of different directions that they can go. Obviously, you can do Rhea versus Io again. You can do Io versus Bianca. You can do Bianca versus Rhea. There's loads of different ways that they can do that. And this was, if you're having the conversation about match of the weekend, it's really between this and the main event of night one. Those are the conversations you have for match of the weekend, and they're both triple threat matches. So you could say maybe that's one thing WWE does know how to do at the moment, is book triple threat matches and put together triple threat matches, because this match was very, very, very good. And absolutely was a brilliant opening to the show, no doubt about that. The Manchukutioner, big up to you, says, allegedly Dwayne Johnson did a similar thing with Black Adam and ruined the film by deviating from the original character and storyline. Well, the story with The Rock and DC, if you believe some of the articles written anyway, is remarkable. Is actually remarkable. Effectively, and again, allegedly, but effectively, he wanted to be the same. He wanted to be, the center of the DC universe, effectively. And he wanted his production company, $7, to effectively be producing every DC movie. His agent, who it was his ex-wife, was, not anymore, but was the agent for Henry Cavill. They got him back into DC. And they wanted to do a Black Adam versus Superman film, and they wanted to, build the DC EU around them two, and really have $7, like I said, producing all of the DC films. And Warner Brothers just sort of went no. James Gunn became available, so he could do his own universe, and it wasn't that much of a success financially, the film. And then there was stuff with like The Rock saying it was the highest grossing film of all time, like a DC film of all time, and it wasn't. It was a really odd behavior, and he took a lot of shit for it. And you do notice when it comes to The Rock, when the pressure's on or his movies aren't doing well, he tends to come back to WWE pretty quickly, and then does some stuff that's very popular, and then goes away and does films again. So yeah, it was. Those stories were very, very strange, very odd. So that was a fantastic opener, great opener. And then you always had the concern of, how do you follow that? And you follow it by a Sin City street fight, which again was really well done. I was a bit worried for Drew and Damien here because the opening match was so good. I was like, how do you follow that? That's a concern. How do you actually follow that? And you follow it actually, and this is smart. Ordering of a card. You follow it with a gimmick match. Lots of weapons, table bumps, chair shots, whatever you can think of. It was physical. It was violent. Drew McIntyre winning is absolutely the right outcome. Drew McIntyre gets the victory. They had 2 tables set up outside of the ring. At one point, Damian Priest goes for old school. McIntyre pushes him off the top rope, goes through the 2 tables, gets back at him back in the ring. There's a chair that was wedged between the 2 turnbuckles, hits a big claymore, and gets the 1, 2, 3. And it was a really good match. And Drew winning again was the right call. I think there was there was an article from the Daily Mail saying that there was those, and that was the tweet he did actually there as well, by the way. And when it comes to the exposure that Netflix offers you, by the way, I think after like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, that tweet had more retweets than the tweet he did last year at WrestleMania had all year in like 5-10 minutes. So that just goes to show the level of exposure WWE has being on Netflix internationally, domestically on Peacock. Like, it's on another level, absolutely another level. But I felt bad for McIntyre because, of course, he'd had such a great year with his feud with CM Punk, and he is doing some of the best work, if not the best work of his career. And then to be on second match at WrestleMania against Damian Priest, you feel for him. You know, you do feel for him in that regard. But him winning is the right call. At one point, he was moved to SmackDown because he was going to feud with Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Obviously, he's not the champion anymore, Cody Rhodes, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I would like to see him on Raw, maybe feud with Jey Uso for the world title. I think Jey Uso should have a short title reign anyway, because I think his money's in the chase, not as the champion. So hopefully he goes to Raw. Maybe he's the one to beat Jey Uso. Hopefully he's the one to beat him, and maybe that's the right thing for him. But McIntyre gets the wins right, and it'd be interesting to see what's next for him. Definitely. So McIntyre wins, and again, this was a very good match. Not as good as the opener, but you go as second matches go. Great match. So another tick. Then Intercontinental Championship match. You have Penta. Obviously going up against Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and Bron Breakker. And we have a new Intercontinental Champion in Dominic Mysterio, who just like that, from, I guess, a massive heel getting booed all the time, turned into one of the biggest baby faces in the company. That Las Vegas crowd absolutely loved Dominic Mysterio. They loved Dominic Mysterio. Now, in terms of a match, I think back to that infamous CM Punk podcast with Colt Cabana and the whole, you've got to make Roman look strong. You've got to make Roman look strong. Make Roman look strong. You've got to make Roman look strong. You could feel that definitely the outcome of this was, got to make Braun look strong. Make Braun look strong, because Bron Breakker was involved in every single facet of this match. You know, whether it's doing spears, whether it's doing tackles, whether it's doing whatever. You know, he has a crazy spot in the match where from one announce table, he spears Carlito through another and the table explodes. Like, it was all about these big moments for Braun, and he was definitely protected in losing the championship. But it's the right outcome, I think. I think this is the right outcome with Dom winning the Intercontinental Championship. As much as obviously the discussion can be about with Dom and the heat that he's got with the crowd. They pipe in the boos sometimes, and they do the thing where they turn his mic down and they turn the crowd noise up. Yes, they do that. I don't know why people get defensive when they say, no, they don't do that, because they do. But at the same time, this is the case of two things can be true at the same time. Do they turn his mic down? Do they turn the crowd up? Yes. Are the crowd, though, legitimately booing him and legitimately booing him loudly? Yes. So they can turn it up even higher and it's still very loud. Or they could turn it low, they wouldn't have to do it, and it's loud. So his development from obviously when he debuted, I remember his first match against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam in 2020, and to where he is now, super popular, super over. It was a great moment for him, and I think that's a huge credit to his development. Now, what it means for the Judgment Day, obviously he got the pinfall on Finn Balor, and they turned on each other in the match. I don't know. I don't know if Dom's going to be kicked from the Judgment Day or if Balor's going to be kicked from the Judgment Day. It's more Judgment Day implosion, I guess. I think for Braun now, it's about moving into the main event scene. And the positive thing with Bron Breakker is he's neither a heel or a babyface. He's just a tweener, and it depends on who his opponent is. And of course, Jey Uso beat him for the Intercontinental Championship, but Bron Breakker beat Jey Uso for the Intercontinental Championship. So I think maybe there could be a situation, maybe, I've talked about Drew McIntyre feuding with Jey Uso for the World Championship. Maybe it's a case of Jey holds it until, let's say, SummerSlam, and Bron Breakker's the one to win the championship there. That wouldn't actually surprise me. It's a bit like Gunther last year at WrestleMania. You drop the Intercontinental Championship because you're going to win it, the World Championship, by the summer. Whether that's Money in the Bank wins that, or whether that's by just having a match at SummerSlam against Jey Uso. So I think that might be the direction that they're going. But good for Dominic Mysterio winning the Intercontinental Championship. Next, we had the Randy Orton Open Challenge, and this is really started to where things start to dip. I think people had expectations, quite high expectations about what this could be. Obviously, the Open Challenge was meant to be Kevin Owens, but now at the Open Challenge, people are talking about, is it going to be Aleister Black? Is it going to be Rusev? Is it going to be someone else? I don't think many people expected it to be Joe Hendry, TNA World Champion Joe Hendry. And look, let's face it, for TNA to be featured at WrestleMania, that is a massive deal. That's historic. You know, when has that ever happened? You know, so to have the TNA World Champion at WrestleMania, and as mentioned, the amount of people watching, that is huge exposure for them. The match, if you thought it was short, it's because it was. It went 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Yes, that's how long it was. 3 minutes and 10 seconds was how long that match went. Hendry got a little bit of offense in. He did the big turn. Randy Orton hit the RKO 1, 2, 3. It's not the best look for the TNA World Champion. That's the best TNA has to offer. He got beaten 3 minutes at WrestleMania. I'm not going to say, he got buried. It's Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and its exposure for TNA, it doesn't really matter all that much. But this was, I think, just about getting Randy Orton on the card because it's Randy Orton and it was his 20th WrestleMania. Could they and maybe should they have done more for Randy Orton's 20th WrestleMania? Yes. I suppose were their options somewhat limited? Perhaps. Maybe they've got grander plans for Rusev. Maybe they've got grander plans for Aleister Black. Aleister Black's going to be returning Friday on SmackDown, I guess. But, yeah, it was, the moment was fine. Joe Hendry gets the WrestleMania moment and Randy Orton. But that didn't feel very sort of WrestleMania-y, did it? I'm not sure. That didn't feel very WrestleMania-like. Slim says, from here it died. The minute Hendry came out, the whole WrestleMania 41 went downhill. Matt says, John Cena no selling all questions at the press conference is actually hilarious. Big Up Andy says, thank you for your hard work, Owen. See you here for Raw. Appreciate you. Yes, I'll be live tomorrow for Raw as well. How many likes we're at? We're currently at 137 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get to 150. And as you can see in the bottom corner there, we are 29 subscribers away from 21,300. A reminder, we are 2 out of 10 on the Super Chat goal, so if you want to put up your contributions as well, you can do so with the Super Chat option. Next up, this is when we go to the show sort of starting to grind to a halt. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. Logan Paul gets the victory over AJ Styles. I just didn't really care. I didn't really care going into into the show about this match. But I did, to be honest with you, I didn't really, because, it just felt like we've got to get Logan Paul on WrestleMania, because sometimes with Logan Paul stuff, it's just like, okay, we're going to give, there's the Logan Paul match, so we're going to give you the Logan Paul match. And sometimes they're good. They're never really bad, and this one wasn't necessarily bad. I just wasn't really invested and just didn't really care. And that's how I felt going into it. And to be honest with you, I probably cared less coming out of it than I did going into it. The thing that I'd say I'm happy about, Karrion Kross got on WrestleMania. Good for him. He's done pretty good work. But at one point, Logan Paul, one of his entourage, is going to bring the brass knucks in. Karrion Kross stops him and then says to AJ, the devil on the shoulder, use it. AJ says no. Gets back in the ring. He gets the one lucky shot. Logan Paul hits the pulverizer and 1, 2, 3. And I probably just summed it up. It's really that's how much happened. Slims in the chat says irrelevant match. Yeah, kind of just I just kind of felt like when it was just a bit sort of flat. Don't really care. I'm not really sure. Styles will now feud with Karrion Kross on Raw. Logan Paul will disappear for a while. I think the bloom's off the rose a little bit with Logan Paul. I think when it comes to his work in WWE, because really, what more does he do at this point? He's challenged for the WWE Championship twice, right? He's faced Roman and he's faced Cody, hasn't he? I think. He's been US champion. Okay. What does he do? I can't really think of what he does. He's had WrestleMania matches against big people. Against Seth Rollins, against AJ. I don't know actually really what he does. It's just kind of it, isn't it? I think they need to sort of figure out what they want to do with him at this point, because obviously he's always going to get traction on social media and what have you, but it's just sort of there to have Logan Paul there, it feels like at points, which is a bit odd. So that was that match. Next up, we have the Women's Tag Team Championships. There was the angle on the Countdown show yesterday. Bayley got taken out backstage, and Lyra Valkyria had to find a partner. And everyone knew who this was going to be. It wasn't a shock. As you can see there in the match graphic, Lyra Valkyria's tag team partner is, of course, the returning former WWE Women's Champion, that being Becky Lynch. She is back for the first time since, May or June of last year. Comes back and faces the person she had a last match against, Liv Morgan, on Raw. What I will say is, with this, Bayley is not injured, as far as reports are. Bayley is not injured. Just the creative plan was to take Bayley out of the match. If I was Bayley, I'm going to be honest, I would be fucking livid if that was me. Genuinely, I would. I'd be like, you're taking me out the match. Why? Are we? Because Becky's got to go in. Now, if there isn't some kind of long-term strategy or other strategy at play when it comes to Bayley, i.e. she's going to turn heel, or she's going to feud with Becky Lynch, or she's going to win the Women's Intercontinental Championship, something like that, and she just got taken out of the match for a bigger star, if I'm Bayley, I'll go, wait a minute, last year I won the Royal Rumble and had a match for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. And bear in mind, when she faced Io Sky last year for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania, she wasn't even featured in any of the advertising material. So that's 2 years in a row that, yes, she was, yes, last year she competed, but she wasn't really promoted last year. And this time around, I get pulled from the show. That's bullshit. And then Becky Lynch, who's been off, her contract expired. She signs a new mega money deal, comes back, and then takes a spot and wins a title in her first match back. That's kind of bullshit. That is, if that was me, I'd be like, that's bullshit. And I think we got to keep the same energy, because if that was Charlotte Flair, if Charlotte Flair came back and was like, right, comes back, wins a title, we'd be saying all she does is compete for a title at WrestleMania. Well, that's what's happening here with Becky Lynch. And to be honest with you, the match itself, it weren't great. The match was not great. It's not like they came back and they had an amazing. But tell you what, match was fantastic. No, match didn't even go 10 minutes. Match went 8 minutes 40 seconds. So unless they've got a longer term plan where Bayley's got to turn back heel and she's going to be feuding with Lyra and she's going to be feuding with Becky and what have you, I don't know. And as far as the tag team division, when it comes to WWE, yet another tag team that's just been put together randomly. If the Bayley situation there is kind of bullshit. That is bullshit. Now they're going to be on NXT on Tuesday because there was a number one contenders match for the women's tag team titles on Stand and Deliver Countdown show. But I guess Becky Lynch is back now on television. And of course, then we got to the main event, which we've spoken to at length. John Cena, the new undisputed WWE champion. As far as where we go from here, of course, with Cena being the champ, we'll find out tomorrow. But I had a lot to say about that in the opening of this one, so you can go back and check that out. As far as overall, when it comes to WrestleMania weekend, I went into WrestleMania weekend saying that it was a 2-match weekend, and really the 2 matches that I was looking forward to, and I think everyone cared about, was the main events. The story of WrestleMania is first night overall sucked. It wasn't good. First night wasn't very good at all. Some okay matches, but it wasn't good. The first night was saved by the main event. One of best main events in WrestleMania history. One of the best triple threat matches in WWE history. So it got saved by that main event. Night 2, it's like they carried that momentum of the great main event into the first 3 matches of the show, and then after that it kind of died off. And we had a main event which was a great moment, and we saw everything that we wanted to see in terms of Cena winning, but the execution of how they got to that point is so confusing and so baffling that I don't even know how they can explain that away. The only logical explanation in reality for me is that it's storytelling that they wanted to do, but it got completely screwed up by The Rock being in, out, and they have to try and make sense of it. They're not even, the Jim Cornette phrase, they're trying to finish someone else's murder mystery, because The Rock keeps stopping and starting and adding different chapters in. They go, right, well, we were thinking it was going to go like this, but then The Rock's putting these chapters in, so we've got to try and make it work. And eventually, you can't make it work forever without it getting confusing. They'll do record business. I'm sure they did record business for this show. They will continue to do record business. Everyone's going to buy a ticket and pay a premium to see John Cena's last match in whatever country or whatever city they're in, particularly if he's defending the WWE Championship. Cena versus Orton will sell tickets. Cena versus Punk will sell tickets. Cena versus Rollins will sell tickets. Cena versus Reigns will sell tickets. Cena versus McIntyre will sell tickets. Cena versus Rhodes again will sell tickets. They won't have a problem with that. But I think WWE is running a risk at the moment by saying a lot of the creative isn't making a lot of sense. And a lot of the creative isn't good. Bear in mind, when we got to the beginning of this year, do you remember when it was like, right, Raw premiere on Netflix, then we've got Elimination Chamber, that's a stadium show. Then we've got WrestleMania and it's John Cena's retirement tour. This is going to be such a good year for WWE creatively. And if we're being genuinely honest, from January to now, the creative actually hasn't been up to scratch from WWE. It hasn't. The high point has been actually the Cena heel turn. That was like the moment at Elimination Chamber when everyone went, right, finally, this feels WrestleMania-like. Finally, this was good. That delivered. And then throughout that European tour, I think everyone kind of held their breath and went, okay, are we going to get something really good now? And we just never really did. And coming out of this WrestleMania, the main event of night one was really good, really well executed. This one, not so much. So we'll see what they do for Raw tomorrow. Where do we end up in terms of likes? We're currently at 144 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. See if we can get to 150 likes on the way out. Only 6 more needed. In terms of subscribers, we're currently at 21,274. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. We're only, 26 away from 21,300, which is crazy. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have more news videos, more countdown videos. We'll also be live for a Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania watch-along. So be sure to join us then. I'll be live 15 minutes before Raw goes live on Netflix. We'll also have a post-show tomorrow and see if they can kind of try and explain all of this. Thank you so much for an amazing WrestleMania weekend. Of course, we're still not done yet. As I mentioned, we'll have Raw tomorrow. But this is the... What's that? I did WrestleMania... In terms of live WrestleManias, I did do 36, but I wasn't live for that one. In terms of live WrestleManias, I did 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So that's like my 5th live WrestleMania I've done here on the channel. I think it's probably the best reaction that we've had here. Probably the most I've seen all of you guys in the chat. Probably the most super chats you guys put in. New members, people interacting, people having a good time, people sharing their thoughts and their opinions. All this channel was ever meant to be was a passion project for me. It's the first thing I ever did here on YouTube was just coming on talking about wrestling for a bit because I like wrestling. That was basically what it is. So the fact that all of you guys get involved, share your opinions, and we watch it together as a community, I am floored and living the dream. So thank you. This is not possible without all of you. So it is really much appreciated. And we'll keep going. And we'll be back tomorrow. Have a good time, guys, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Peace.